This is Toronto, the largest city in Canada, with a population of just under 3 million within its city limits. Scarborough, once a small suburb on the east end of Toronto, has grown into a developed district in its own right. The same cannot be said about its transit system, however. Although there are direct connections to the Toronto downtown, as well as to other neighboring regions, the majority of its citizens have no access to any other forms of public transit besides buses. The Scarborough Rapid Transit, known simply as the SRT or Line 3, began as a sort of experiment in the 1980s to now an eyesore and a game of politics with nothing but for the people of Scarborough to suffer through. It connects Scarborough with the subway line at Kennedy Station, and its stations serve as transit hubs to various other bus and regional transit options. However, with its end of life coming rather quickly, recent news is that the line is stated to close in 2023, but there are no replacement options yet available. So what happened? In this episode, we will look at the history of the SRT, what led to the demise of the system, and what is the future for the residents of Scarborough moving forward. As usual, please like and subscribe. In the 1970s, the city of Toronto was getting bigger and people have started to move into the suburbs. There was a need to connect this new area, Scarborough, with the downtown core. The original idea at the time was to use existing hydro corridors to create transit lines. It has worked well for other cities at the time, and Toronto was interested in doing the same. However, the Toronto Transit Commission, TTC, was in charge of developing and operating the transit system in Toronto at the time, and for the most part up until recently. In the 1970s, the TTC was looking to expand their transit network into Scarborough and the new model community in Malvern, but they prefer streetcars due to the lower costs and familiarity because they already operated a series of streetcars downtown. They were actually well into construction of a streetcar line running across Scarborough with a terminus to the existing subway line until the provincial government intervened. Named the Urban Transportation Development Corporation, the UTDC for short, this Crown Corporation intended to develop and sell light rail transit for the expanding North American market at the time. Many cities were experiencing rapid growth and urban sprawl problems, same like Toronto. Almost everyone was struggling with traffic problems, but building subway systems were not always feasible, and the costs of digging tunnels was just too much. The idea for UTDC was to research something that was easier to build than subways, but more capacity than buses and streetcars. The Intermediate Capacity Transit System, or the ICTS, was born. To give credit where it's due, the ICTS was basically a mini maglev. There are very few moving parts, which meant maintenance was lower than traditional train sets. To further reduce operating costs, the system was intended to be driverless. What happened next was basically the province strong-arming the TTC to comply with their wishes. 75% of the capital costs of the Scarborough streetcar line was being paid by the province. Well, the province also wanted to try out their shiny new trains. But there were a couple of things that happened between the ICTS development and eventual deployment. For one thing, the maglev system didn't work out due to various funding and political issues. So what we were left with was a slightly new design but not exactly revolutionary. Number 2, remember the partly constructed streetcar system? Well, that had to be scrapped. As well as new trains and on a different track gauge. Stations needed a redesign and a new maintenance yard also needed to be purpose-built. This meant cost overruns and delays to opening the line, which eventually managed to go into service in 1985. As this was new technology and new trains, problems occurred in the beginning of service, including power rails that would freeze, unnecessary noise with wheels and brakes, and signal problems. Some of these issues were due to technology change from the original maglev design, some were because of how TTC ended up using the trains, some were because of cost-cutting measures due to the circumstances of the project. We can do a whole other episode about this if we wanted to. Ironically, the project became the price of a subway system for the capacity of streetcars. It did not serve the purpose of the project at all. There were other expansion plans for this ICTS system within Toronto, but they were all eventually abandoned. The Ontario government also stopped pushing for the technology due to limited interest. The only other customers at the time were the Vancouver SkyTrain and Detroit People Mover. The system was sold to the company Lavalin in 1986, who also did little with this technology. Bombardier eventually bought the technology in 1991 and decided to stop making the Mark I vehicles in the 1990s that were used by the SRT. Newer versions called the Mark II and Mark III were released, morphing into Bombardier's Innova Metro model, or known as the ART series, but they were bigger in size and could not fit onto some of the SRT stations. So guess what? There are actually no possibilities of replacing the aging trains. With the existing SRT trains refurbished in 2015, the life of the system was extended, but not by much. The debate on what to do with the SRT and transit in Scarborough in general had been a hot topic since the 2000s. Various expansion plans, realignment plans, replacement plans were just that, plans. The track and station could be redesigned to fit the Bombardier ART 200 or 300 series trains, but the cost and time it took to shut down the line made it unpopular and not justifiable. As part of David Miller's Transit City plan in 2007, the SRT was supposed to switch over to a more conventional light rail system as part of Toronto's ambitious transit plan with connections to various other light rail transit lines, but the entire Transit City plan was axed by the next mayor Rob Ford in 2010. At some point in 2016, a $3.2 billion one-stop subway plan was considered to replace the six-stop LRT, but this was also shelved. As of how it currently stands, the system is designed to become a three-stop subway extension from the Bloor Danforth line, but construction has yet to begin and is not planned to open until 2030. Currently in February 2021, the SRT is slated to end its service in 2023, and buses are proposed as the Bridge Gap service. At this moment in time, it looks like strange decisions by politicians over the years are leading to the people of Scarborough's cramming into buses for 7 years or more. And I would say that even a 3-stop subway extension is not really an improvement over the current 6-stop SRT line. Let us know in the comments below. What would you do to extend the life of the SRT? Be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, safe travels.